we started the company pretty much with a traditional print background. My father and brother were working at the same company, were let go at the same time, and we wanted to start our own printing company. So this was, at the time, a wild idea. I was in my last semester of college. We started with basically no capital, no equipment, and lots of credit cards. And that's how we did it until we acquired our first presses and our one building after another and additional suites. I'd probably say it was about the late 90s, 1997, 98, that we started doing a lot of these direct mail projects. And we weren't providing mail services at the time, but we would be arranging our schedule to make these, it has to be at the mail house, it has to be at the mail house. We had to rearrange our press schedules to make sure they got it, and then 2 days later we'd make another delivery, and that job that we arranged our schedule was still sitting on the loading dock. So we kind of recognized the opportunity that, as far as not necessarily in the marketing industry, but direct mail marketing was just an extension of what we already do. Once you get into the early 2000s, the market and industry started to change to more targeted mailings, the old philosophy of let's just print millions of them and advertise and blanket the areas and demographics, and then we'll get the sale return. The advent of the internet, email, that cross-channel marketing effort started to develop, and that was more of how people started to understand that the more targeted message that you have, the more that you can identify with your prospect, this is how you can get a better return on your direct mail marketing efforts. And that was something that we recognized with our clients, and we started to go into that area as far as variable data personalization and just a little bit more sophisticated ability with our software solutions to be able to customize that message.
So Jill, how does that conversation work? I mean, I saw you kind of nodding in affirmation on some of the points that I made earlier this morning, measuring the ROI, right? The response rate, the efficacy of the overall campaign. Marketers are not foolish, right? They've got limited funds. They want to spend the money wisely. So help us understand, what are some of the tools? What's the conversation? What are those trigger points that you found that excite or endear that customer to keep that business or grow the business with you?
One of the things is that we address quality and hygiene. This is something that, again, a lot of the companies that we do work for are marketing firms. They're looking for returns. They're looking for statistics. They're looking for the track and trace, the predictability of deliverability, because they also are coordinating, electronic campaigns as far as their direct mail advertising. So it's very critical that their direct mail message is delivered on point, on time, to the right person. I think for the most part, some of the sophisticated marketers are very in tune with the data quality. And this is key for some of the larger scale institutions and direct mail marketers. They understand that it's not the amount, it is more of the quality and the accuracy. And that's something that, a lot of direct mail marketing services, they get it by per piece, and that's how they sell it, but then you're watering down your results. Right. And the future of, successful direct mail marketing is not going to be of the quantity, it's going to be the quality. And that you have to understand that we as mail service providers are very crucial to that address quality and that deliverability. That, yes, they are, we're selling a per 1,000 service. However, if you're working with organizations or firms that are looking for their direct results, you want to make sure that they're actually getting the results and the numbers they need. And that directly is involved with the quality of the addressable information or the variable data that they're advertising to. So there's that coordination that we have to kind of change our mindset, that it's not the quantity, it's more of the quality and the return. Because the more return they get, the more they're going to advertise with direct mail. And it almost comes full circle. Because, again, it's not just the email, it's not the radio channels or the television or the billboards. There's not one silver bullet. The idea is that you have all of these marketings after you make that 1, 2, 3 touch points, whatever it is, email, direct mail, they see a billboard, that's that effort. And that's one of the things that, I think more sophisticated, graduated marketers are starting to understand. They're capturing the data from all their sources. and they're better utilizing it. And that's where it's a responsibility on us to make sure that we're getting the most accurate end product so they can yield the results that they're looking for.
Now, Jill, so let's talk a little bit about automation. So the tipping point or the factor that kind of help you to decide, to take the business to the next level, right? Where you wanted to optimize that. What was that tipping point that helped you with that?
The tipping point was we got, again, we started to get into the variable data aspects. We went to a confidential data environment, which really attracted a lot of new business for us. And we got to the point where it would, and this didn't stop the standard, everything's a rush, I have data late, that, it would take days to get data and sign-offs and just out of our department. I mean, days, tears.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the tears.
Tears. And again, we were going into a lot more sophisticated, complex messaging. We had the equipment. I mean, we had invested in, as far as, we come from traditional printing, we have digital presses, offset presses, all the finishing requirements, and we could not get the logical process out of our data department. And that was because of sheer volume. Part of it was because we were doing some new things. Okay. We weren't necessarily trained in it as well. And we were doing everything manually as far as what we needed to accomplish. And our data processors did it, and they did a great job. It just took forever. And that was at the point where we started looking at, once we got to a certain volume, we knew that the only other opportunity would be, more equipment, more people, bigger departments, expansion of everything that we did logically, or we could take a better look at what we're doing, the software solution that we had, what were the opportunities to do it a different way. And that's when, I started pushing hard for the full service, because we were capturing the data and you could see the time just of the processors to accomplish the projects. And it didn't even come close to what we were selling it for. And that was a problem. Not necessarily a problem from we weren't losing work, we were getting plenty of it. And some of the manufacturing capabilities offset, the loss of the data department and the time that it took to accomplish what we were doing. But you can't continue to operate like that. And that was one of the things that we knew, that this is the direction that we wanted to go, and we have to take a better approach at where this is what we want to be doing. And the volume, we have the manufacturing capacity and the production capacity, but logically we had to step it up to make sure that we could keep up with that demand.
And so doing that with the change in technology, the better automation, with Taskmaster and the Job Manager and working with that, did that impact the hiring decisions for bringing in new team members, and what were some of the decisions that you had with that?
Yes. So we actually are probably down one processor compared to where we were. And that's not to say that, the automation killed somebody's job. Right. What we did was we actually were able to create a new position, offset some of the data processing work with more of a secondary proofing outside of just, your standard postcards, but the variable data element. Kind of took that off the burden of the data processor. So that's solely what they're focusing on, is processing the data, coding it, make sure it's got all the information, postal requirements. We created a new position. We actually created two new positions. One was a mail logistics coordinator, because at that particular point, once we started being able to get the logical processes out for manufacturing, we could do more and faster. And we actually had to, as opposed to having a data processor coordinate with our verifier that was on site and any postal issues and trucking companies, we created a position of a mail logistics coordinator, which was great, because it was an isolation of, we were using our best performers for tasks that took them away from what they were supposed to be doing. So we basically created two new positions and are still exceeding as far as what our capacity is. Logically, is getting the information out at the best speed, the best time frames, and it's been very, very successful for us.
Okay, excellent. And you touch on a really important point, and Mitch and I talk about that, from a product development and the roadmap aspect. Our solutions don't aren't replacing jobs, right? They're
No.
enabling an opportunity to repurpose these positions, because as the company changes and grows, those individuals can expand their career opportunity. They'd be doing different things, and so that's a growth for them personally. It's a growth for the company as well.
Absolutely. And we've always been a fan of training, cross-training, doing different things. I'm a firm believer that, we've always invested in technology. That didn't mean that we didn't want computers doing the job. There's still that information, that judgment that, you're going to need the processor skill to take a look at things and find different solutions. No computer or software is ever going to replace that. But what we did was we made sure that, we're getting them the tools that's going to make them be able to make those decisions better. And that only makes your skill set and your job more secure as far as what we consider.
Yep.
So.
Okay. And so the growth in the mailing services, that helped other parts of the business and enabled opportunities with that as well?
Absolutely. So now that we were able to actually keep up with time frames that our clients expected, again, every job's a rush job. The data's always late. It actually allowed us to manufacture better. So before we were waiting, manufacturing was sitting in the staging area waiting for the data to be finished so that we could get in there. Now it's almost a seamless that we were able to, basically we can't manufacture sometimes fast enough, which is a wonderful problem to have. So that means that we're actually way advanced in the logical processes, and now we're catching up to the machines. So to me, that's exactly how it should be, because not that I want to buy more iron and more presses, but I want to make sure that it's constantly feeding one to the other. And I'd rather wait for the manufacturing product to be finished, the tangible, as opposed to the logical process and the information that needs to be accomplished.
What type of conversations might you have measuring the effectiveness? And where I'm getting with this question, Jill, is you mentioned intangibles, right? A lot of what you're providing and a lot of what we all provide can on the surface seem intangible, right?
Yes.
So how do we measure the value that we're providing to our customers? Are there some suggestions that you have on that? And I'm sure it's got to be different from a utility,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're going to look at the SLAs that you have
That's-
on that part of it, but marketing is going to be could be different from an advertising aspect.
And it's different for different clients, so
Right.
they're looking at different things. I think a lot of times it comes down to, how can I save them money on postage? And it's basic, from my client standpoint, they're always looking to save money on postage, and that's either with a commingling or an SCF or NDC analyzation. How can we save our clients postage? That's one of the things. Some of our clients, as far as pharmaceuticals, they're looking for return information back as far as, they want to make sure that they're mailing to the correct people, the data coming back and making sure they have that and update their database. Financial institutions, they just care about making sure that they're making their compliance timeframes. How can we do that better? How can we be more predictable?
Right.
So it's different for different clients, but I think every client will always tell you, how can I save money on postage? And that's something that all of my clients have always been interested in, and that's kind of where we try and offer that to each of our clients, different opportunities that they may or may not have thought of.
At Square One, do you have somebody that's sort of the postal affairs individual that's on top of these things?
Yes, we have a mail department manager.
Okay.
So along with our data processors and our logistics coordinator and our data proofing, we have a manager who keeps us up to date with all the changes. Make sure that she's informing the sales representatives of things that the campaigns that they offer that might offer their clients discounts. Any different changes. We sit down with our sales department usually in January once they make their postal announcements. So
Right.
everybody's up to date, and we're trying to communicate to our clients. Again, some of our clients, the more sophisticated ones, know all the postal regulations and the changes that take effect. But for the most part, that's not everybody, and we try and make sure that we take an approach of we're a partner with our clients. They're spending money and they're entrusting their data to us, and to make sure that they're getting the best return on the dollar. And the more informed that they are, the better marketing that they can provide and hopefully generate new revenue for their company or organization.
If you could give one piece of advice that you'd give to your peers here about creating an automated workflow, leveraging that. What would be that? What advice would you give everyone?
I'd definitely say that to create the automated workflow, you want to make sure you take a good look at your current workflow. And it's difficult from a data processor standpoint, so you have to understand that, yes, every job is unique, but we're performing the same tasks over and over again for basically the same end product. And you want to make sure that, again, you're never going to create one workflow or template that's going to work for every single job, and someone's always going to find something. But being able to identify and to know that what are the things and the tasks, the standards that you perform every single time, and how can I make that small efficiency? If it's 2 minutes on every single mail process or any operator's time in any day, and they process, 5, 10, 15 projects in a day or a week, those efficiencies over time are going to add up, and you're going to see your ability. Like I said, it takes time, but you're going to start seeing those efficiencies gained and your capacity to do more. It's definitely it's a task. It takes a methodology of taking a look at what you're doing and a standardization, depending if you have one operator or multiple operators or different shifts. But to keep at it, and the more that you can actually have your operators understand that this is going to make what you do better, faster, more reliable. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say, you know what, I don't want to do that. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's one of the things, and it takes time. It's a gradual process. I'd love to tell you flip the switch and you turn it on and everything is boom. It's a process, and it's about change. And people are always hesitant. It's scary, but it can yield some good results that I think everyone, as far as management and just as far as data processors, can all reap the rewards of.